we are going to build a trading application. Well, something that's going to track all trades and give all the statistics. So I will share what I used to use. So let me pull this up. Well, actually, it's what I still use, I guess. So let me share. Here. Okay. So this is what I used to use. And basically, this is just like a dummy account I made. So basically, you would input your buys and sells here, and then, just the ticker, the shares, whatever price you bought it at. It would calculate the total amount. I always like to know if it's above the 50-day simple moving average, 200-day simple moving average, what kind of base or shaper, like kind of the macro pattern it is, and then what the tactical pattern is. And then I would just record when it was closed out and what the date was, because obviously you can continue to add to a position, and you can also, of course, like trim a position down. So if you trim a position down and you don't sell all of it, obviously this wouldn't go here. And then this would flow into an active portfolio page, which would calculate, and this Excel uses the Google Finance API and gives you the live price. So then this would just calculate current value versus the total cost of the position, give you a dollar gain loss, turn that into a percent, and then show you the portfolio impact. And then down here, you have all your totals. So total amount invested by cost, was 50,000, call it. And as of, the close Friday, you were up $1,000, or an impact on the portfolio. This is just $1 million portfolio, for example, of 0.11%. And so this is your active portfolio. And then, of course, you have to know what your realized gain and losses is and how those trades turned out. So then there is a trading statistics tab. And so here, all the trades go here. And then when they close out, we calculate the, again, gain loss, percent gain loss, and portfolio impact. And if it was a gain, put a green highlight here. And if it was a loss, put a red highlight here. And then this would calculate your realized gain loss. So that's these two numbers combined. And then you have your unrealized loss, which is coming from active portfolio. And then it gives you the total profit loss, P&L, and then total P&L of the portfolio. So that gets calculated. It's live if the market's open. And then, of course, it's delayed, 15 minutes. But basically, you can understand what your gains and losses are. And obviously, if you want to know the exact price or gain loss of a position that's open, you would just look at your trading platform. But this is really to understand, where am I overall? And then also, this is really important for once trades are closed, to understand, like, what is my batting average? Like, how many wins versus losses? What's my average gain by dollar amount versus my average loss, right? Because I don't need to win 51% of the time if my wins are much bigger than my losses. So, most trading strategies, you might be winning only 30 to 40% of the time. But if you cap your losses at a small amount and your wins are 3 times what your losses are, you can still win with that formula. So it's good to understand, there's the thought of what your strategy is actually going to look like, and then it's what actually happens. And so, and sometimes those are very different. And so I found tracking that to be really helpful. So, here, this just calculates, this is just a random example I threw together last night, but, you're 50-50%, you had 1 win, 1 loss. The average win was 14.35%, average loss 8.3, average win by dollar calculated would be the average of all the wins and losses. And then what's really important too, of course, is your portfolio impact, because these are really kind of the big numbers, because let's say you only had 5% in a position that tripled, but then you had 20% size positions in all your losses. That's going to more negatively impact your portfolio. So it's really important to know what your portfolio impact is for each trade. So that's basically what this calculates. And then I also had like a to-do tab that would just show like what I need to do each day. And then, equity curve too here is good. So again, I just use like $1 million portfolio. The problem was with this, I had to manually, I guess I could have tied this to here, but the problem is with Excel, and I'm sure there's a way you could probably put Python code in here to do it, but you'd have to be able to tell this to update this end of day number. So I was manually doing this, and then sometimes I would like forget. So I'd have to like, the next day I'd have to just kind of guess, because I couldn't really go back and calculate I mean, I guess I could have what the unrealized gain loss was at the end of the day for every position, but it's kind of a lot of work. So because this number is always updating. So once the market opens, the unrealized number changes. So I would literally have to go back for every position and calculate the closing price from the night before and all that. So that's kind of a lot of work. So that's here. So that's something I'd like to have too. So that's basically the overall picture. So again, basically all I'd like to do in the application, I'll show the Figma design I created, is all I want to be able to do is put the date, buy, sell, ticker. I'll have the API I use go out and get the name, because I would like to have I think for some people don't have all the tickers and names memorized together. So it would be nice to like populate the name once the user puts the ticker in, put the shares, the price, and then the shaper and tactical if you want. I'm not going to make those required because not everyone uses this. And then everything else can calculate, right? Like, is it above the 50, 200? I'm going to add the 20 exponential moving average too, and it can just calculate that automatically based on the date and price you put in. It will calculate the moving averages for you and tell you if it was above or below when you bought it, and then same for when you sold it. The only thing the user would really have to do on a go forward basis is make sure to put in when they sell and at what price, and if it's all the shares. And then of course, if they want to, like, why did they sell? So there'll be like a form part. We can just put text, like some notes. So that's all saved. And then everything else will automatically populate. The one other issue I have in Excel too, and again, I'm sure there's a way around it, but doing logic in Excel sometimes is kind of annoying, especially between tabs. It just gets really confusing and it's easy to make mistakes. But in this, the way I have this set up is that if, let's say I sell all AM, well, I think I sold all NVIDIA here, let's say, right? So bought 50 shares, sold 50. If I buy NVIDIA again, it's going to mess up all the calculations. It can't really take into account rebuying the same stock. It almost has to be redone manually. And again, I'm sure there's a way around that, but at this point, I want to do a lot more logic and I want to stop going between tabs. It'll be nice to just put in a couple numbers and then everything will calculate through. So let's take a look. I'll close this down and let me save that. Let me pull up the Figma. That's here. I'll pull this over to this screen. Oh, I have to unshare and then. Okay, so first I used these really like ugly colors. And so I redid some of them, but not all of them. But here's kind of the color scheme I'm going for now. Figma is a really cool tool to just kind of like, I'm not the world's greatest planner and I hate colors. So Figma is a good way to just like have something to look at, and then I can build off of it with the code and always go back to it to be like, ooh, what did I forget? What do I need to change? Like what validations do I need in the forms? And then of course, for the models, we're going to be using MongoDB and Mongoose, which is helpful library to work with MongoDB to set validations and to set up all the models, like what's required for all the different inputs. So basically what we're going to have here is, you see that on? Yeah, let me zoom in here. Okay, so we're just going to call this application Smart Trader for this purpose. We're going to have the current portfolio, add trade, ledger, equity curve, statistics, and then I'm going to add a to-do in here as well. And I think there's a lot of extra functionality that can go in this that can just be done on the backside with logic that the user doesn't really have to mess with. But for now, just want to get it set up and working. And so here's the add trade. And I'm going to have the user put the date in because, there's times like, let's say it's a Friday and, the market's closed obviously Saturday. So you don't want to like update all your trade stuff at the end of the day, Friday. You want to enjoy the weekend. And so you do it Sunday. Like obviously there needs to be a way for the user to put the trade in. So the date, buy or sell, this will just be a drop down. The ticker will need to validate. I'm not sure how to do this yet. I do it in a Python application where I go out to the Yahoo Finance API and validate the ticker to make sure it's a real ticker before it gets saved. And can probably just do that a similar way with just checking to make sure that ticker is real, and whatever the name of is associated with that ticker will pull back and store in the Mongo database. And then, of course, the amount of shares and the price. And then if you want to put the shaper and tactical, because obviously there's no way for the software to know what pattern you were using. So that would be add trade. And then we will have a ledger, which I didn't change the colors for. Where's the ledger at? Oh, maybe over here. Yeah, and so the ledger will look similar to that Excel spreadsheet. These are probably a little bit harder to see, but we'll have all the different things I talked about. I'm adding the above 20. Shaper and tactical will show up if the user chooses. I could make those drop down. I might do it both ways, because I think for me to have a drop down menu would be easier. That way all the data is similar. And I mean, I only use a handful of shaper or base patterns and then tactical patterns. So I may make those drop downs out as I think about it. I'm going to add what percent of the portfolio it is, because again, position sizing matters. Who cares if you have a 1% position size and it quadruples? What you really want is a 20 to 30% position size that goes up 50% or maybe doubles, is a huge impact on the actual portfolio. And then we'll add some edit buttons in here. That'll be the ledger. And then the active portfolio will be similar to what I discussed. It'll have all the pertinent data in here, which will automatically calculate. And then it'll have the all the totals I showed before down here. And then of course the trade statistics. Again, this will auto-populate, because when you close a trade, I'll make it so that the logic knows, this is a fully closed trade. The one thing that's a little tricky, because everyone's going to look at their average cost differently. So sometimes, let's say you buy a stock at $100, $125, and $150, all at the same dollar amount, or you could just average those three, it would just be $125. But not everyone does it that way. Sometimes, like, let's say you've got that $125 average, but then you decide to trim 10% of the position at $200. Like, some people will say, all right, I trimmed at 200, my average cost was 125. I'll take that that gain there. Other people will say, I'll take that gain and roll it in and call my average cost, the 125 minus the gain. So that now your average cost in the whole position is lower. People look at that differently. So we'll do it one way. I like to just keep the average cost what it is as I trim. It's just easier for me to see on the chart, so that number is not always changing. But we'll take a look at that when we get to that point. That won't happen today. Today, we're just going to really get the server set up, the client side set up, maybe some of the models set up for the form and for Mongo, and hopefully get the Mongo DB database connected, and maybe do a little bit of the front end stuff. We'll see how much time we have, because I'm guessing I'll do this for about 2 hours for the next 3 Saturdays. So I feel like 5-6 hours should be enough time to build the majority of the functionality out of this. So next week should be pretty logic heavy, as I don't really love designing things. I'd rather do the math. So here's our trade statistics. And then we're also going to have an equity curve, and I'm going to do it on a percent basis and a dollar basis. And then also, I'm guessing there's a way, I don't know what I'm going to use. There's probably a library like matplotlib for Python, where I can create charts pretty easily with JavaScript. I'm just not familiar with them. I've only been doing JavaScript for 3 or 4 weeks. So I'm a bit of a newbie versus Python. So this will be a good project for me to learn. And then anyone else that wants to learn, that's great too. So yeah, so we'll have a percent, and then these will be dollar amounts. So you can see the dollar impact. And then is there anything else? Add trade. Oh, update trade will be basically the same as add trade. That's if you want to edit. Oh, and then a to-do list. So I like to every night, put together my trade sheet. And then that way the next morning, all I have to do is click buttons. I don't have to think. If I didn't sleep well, if something's going on in life, it doesn't matter. When the market's open, I just click buttons and I leave the emotion to the side, barring, I don't know, something really crazy happening in the world. But it would have to be a pretty big thing to change the way I trade in the morning. So again, we'll have for this, what I like to do is, so I've got, let's see if we can see this, ticker. So the ticker. And then, so I have 3 different reasons I'm going to be doing some of my trade sheet. I'm going to update a stop loss, right? I'm going to tighten my stops. I'm going to make a new buy, or I'm going to make an add-on buy. And it's just good for me to know that in the morning. That way, if it's an add-on buy, I can go to my current positions and just do an add-on buy on my trade platform. If it's a new one, things like that. And then again, I like to know what shaper and tactical setup I've got, how many shares. And I broke this down, and I may do 3, because sometimes I'll buy partial of the position I want to buy. And then let's say the stock actually closes at the breakout. Let's say I'm buying a breakout, and I'll buy but it breaks out first thing in the morning. I'll buy maybe a half or a third of the position And then if it looks strong throughout the day and it's getting volume, I'll buy the other third. And then if it closes above that price, I'll buy the third. That way, in this market with where interest rates being so high, a lot of breakouts just pop up and fail. And so that way you only have a third of the position committed. And so you only get stopped on a third rather than a full position if that's the case. Of course, the downside is your average cost is likely higher because you're not just buying the breakout point, you're buying above it. And then, the total market value and the impact on the portfolio. So like, is it going to be a 5% position, 10%? And that way it's just all here and you can see it. And then also I like to have a little calculator so I don't have to like always do it in Excel or like grab my phone for a quick calculator. Be like on pullback buys, I'll usually do a 5%, just an automatic 5% stop loss on those. I can just pop that in real quick. And then the amount of shares to buy. So I can put in what percent of the portfolio do I want and how much is each share cost at my buy point. And that'll calculate automatically how many shares I should buy. It's just nice to be able to do all here in one thing rather than having to, again, go like to Excel to calculate or my phone to calculate or whatever. So that's what we'll be building. I think it's 7 sheets total. Let's see, we'll have current portfolio, add trade, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, 6 or 7 different things. So again, Figma is a great thing to use if you want to, but all right, let's jump into the code. Hopefully this coffee is cold enough. Barely. Okay, let's get into the code. So we'll close down Figma. And Figma, you can do all this. If you're not familiar, you can do, I think just one canvas or whatever you want to call this for free at a time. But I mean, it's plenty. You could put as many applications on here as you wanted to. I think there's a limit of how many frames you can have, maybe 30 or something, but still that's quite a bit. If you want to build an application, it's just nice because I built all this and the colors just looked way too old school for me. Like when I first started at JP Morgan, I think this is the color scheme we used. So I updated it to look, I think, a little better, and I like blue. So, all right, Figma gone. And now let's get cranking on the code. So, all right, so some of the things we're going to be using, we're using Vite or Vite, whatever, for React on the front end. And then we're going to use Express to create the server, Mongoose with MongoDB, going to use cores for the middleware, and I think I'm forgetting one other dependency, but we'll go through them all. I have them all written down, and I have some code I'll probably copy in just for the sake of time to keep it a little easier. So, all right, so all I did is I created an overall folder. It's just called Smart Trader React. And then inside of here, we're going to have just 3 files, gitignore, the server, and the client side. So let's get a terminal going and make sure we are here. I might have to, I wonder if I can make this live window smaller. Maybe not. Okay, I'll try and make it so we can see everything. I'm just deactivating my Conda thing from. You know what I'll do? Instead of using the terminal to create files and folders, I'll just do it in the GUI, just so I know people can see it. Otherwise, you can't see over the video I've got here, and that's not really that helpful. So what we'll do here is we will add a .gitignore file, and I'm just going to pull up this dummy setup I have here, so I don't forget anything as I build this. Okay, so we're going to ignore the node modules. We're going to ignore the build files, the .env, and then I'm just going to do the .gitignore. I don't know if this matters. Actually, yeah, we'll keep that hidden. So that's it for the .gitignore. So we don't want the node modules because they're huge. Same with build. And then .env, you will get an error if, well, not an error, but if, let's say you upload a project to GitHub, GitHub's going to probably send you an email and say, hey, security thing, because this will put your .env file is going to have your username and password for your MongoDB. So I'll probably hide that actually while we do this, but just something to note. I mean, you can have the .env, but it's probably not a good idea. I mean, I don't think for personal projects anything's going to happen. But if you are going to use this for your own trading portfolio, it's probably really important that you make sure this is on a gitignore. So from here, then let's build, we're just going to put the server file in here. And then let's do our front end. So just so I don't forget anything, let's go over my notes here. So we've got gitignore, get that. And then, okay, so we're going to do, hopefully now we can see this, but just npm create Vite at latest. You know what I'll do is it Command B? There we go. Okay. That way we can see it at latest. Okay, npm create Vite latest. So this will create our front end. We're going to call this client. So this is just going to, this is what the folder inside of the main Smart Trader React folder will be called. And then we are going to choose React, JavaScript, SWC. We are going to cd into client. Yes, cd into client here, which it tells you here as well. Cd into client. I'm going to do the npm. You can do I for install if you want. Great. And we're not going to run the dev yet, but if we pull this back, and if you're on Mac, you can use Command B to hide your VS Code here. So we've got the client folder. We will, let's go into here. Let's get rid of the CSS. I am going to keep the root on both index CSS and app CSS for now, and we'll modify some of that, but I do like to keep that, mainly because I just like the dark color that they use. And then also this root here in the app.jsx helps keep everything centered, which, you know, again, I don't know if we'll need or not, but we'll just leave that in there for now. You can always delete it. And then app.jsx, we can get rid of all of this, which just comes when you set up. And then we can get rid of this use state. Get rid of this. I don't think we're going to lift any state, but we'll just keep this here for now. That's fine. Package.json should be good. I haven't installed all the dependencies yet, but we will. This is type module, dev, works. Okay, so I think that's all good for the client side for now. And then we'll set up the we'll install the dependencies in a second. And then let me just make sure. Okay, looks good. So I'm going to cd out of client, just so we don't make any mistakes here. And then server again, I'll just do it here since that way everyone can see it. I need the, wait. Let's do, actually I forgot on the client side, that's what I wanted to do. Inside of here, we are going to create, not controllers, components. Components. I'm going to create, whoops, views and utils, because I do think we're going to have a sort of like helpers file. I think we'll use maybe some form of use reducer, but we're definitely going to have a dictionary or not a dictionary, that's Python. We're going to have an object with functions attached to it. So that way we can just call those functions, because there will be quite a bit of logic once we call I think we're going to use the Yahoo Finance API, but I'll check that this week before we build that next week. But I think a utils folder will make sense for that. All right, so I've got views, components, utils. Anything I'm missing? I think that's good for now. Okay, so now for the server, we're going to cd into the server. Let's get that away so you can see this. And then here, we're also going to make sure we're in here. Oh yes, there's nothing in here. I do need to create server.js file. So now that should show up. It does. And then we're going to do the npm init and just say yes to everything. So that's here. Then we need to create the .env file, which we will hide. I'll show us what to put in there. So that's good. What else do I need? So much to remember at the beginning. Okay, I'll use the GUI for this just so everyone can see it. But again, I mean, you could do it down here. Well, maybe we'll just do it down here. I feel like it's faster. Just do a make directory. And here we do need models, controllers. What else? Routes. Oops. And the config folder. Models, controllers, routes, config. So that will create all those. So we can see all those here. That's great. We've got .env, which is empty right now. And then we do need to do, we're not going to do this yet. Let's do, okay, here's where we will need to have, there's two ways to do this. You could set it up so you have side by side. Let me cd out of this. Side by side things. I just don't know if everyone's going to be able to see this. I guess can I move this over? Oh no, that won't work. We'll just do it for right now. We'll just do it in one. I'm just going to do it in here. Okay, so let's cd into the client. So this is all our front end dependencies we're going to do. We're going to do it in the client folder. And so here we're going to have, again, npm install, and we need Axios for the API stuff. And then we need the React router DOM. Make sure we don't need anything else. Client dependencies. I think that's it. Get those installed. Now, if you do in one terminal, make sure to cd back to your main folder and then cd into server. Here, double check. Okay, we are in the server folder, and here we're going to do npm install. And for this, we're going to need, .env was the other dependency I couldn't think of. We need express mongoose .env and cores, which is our middleware. Anything else? Okay, we'll install that. Great, and then we just need nodemon, which is the npm install, and we're going to save it to the dev, and then just nodemon. Okay. All right, great. So let's check. I don't think we need any other dependencies here. No. Okay. So we should have everything we need. Let's take a look here. So client dependencies, package.json. We've got Axios, React DOM, React Router DOM. Great. You always want to make sure your type is set to module for ES6, which this is automatic now. This is correct. Let's check. There are a couple things we need to do at this package.json, which right here we need to do the dev with nodemon. So we're going to do dev npx nodemon, and then we need to add that type here. So type, and it will automatically pull up to module. So we get the newest version. I don't think there's anything else. Let's see. Okay, so that is good to go. Now I'm going to grab, and this is just the config file that we're going to create a file in config. It's going to be our Mongoose config file. So mongoose.config.js. And this is just some boilerplate code. The one thing you will have to update, which we will do here, is the database name. So this MongoDB URI, this is coming from .env, which is empty right now, in which we will gitignore, but everything else will get pushed to GitHub if you choose to do that. But this is going to pull the MongoDB URI, which is going to have your username and password, and then you need to put the actual database name in here. And then this is just a nice little console log, to say, hey, you've successfully connected to the database. This books.db is just from an assignment I was doing. So that's there for now. And then let's go to the server.js. And so walking through this again, I mean, Mongoose and .env make this really easy. Really all you're doing here is taking this, right? Using the .env to get what you need. And this will and then just using connect from Mongoose to connect to that link on your, and we're using Atlas for MongoDB. So I'll go over that. We'll see that make more sense. And then this is just obviously an error if there's a problem with the connection, which we'll probably get if I try and connect. And then the server.js file, import that as well. Walk through this. So this will be, so this is basically just importing all of the necessary, all the things we installed basically, right? Express, cores, .env, and then dbconfig or dbconnect, which is what we created right here. This function we created and we exported. We're just pulling that in here. Then we do an instance of the dbconnect, instance of express, right? This gets us JSON and uses cores for the middleware in case we need to access from different endpoints. This is pretty standard stuff. And then whatever port we want to use. So this will be from the .env file too. You'll see, 8,000 or whatever you want to use for your local host. And then it'll just give us, it'll let us know again, kind of like we did this notification, let us know we're connected to MongoDB. This is going to let us know that we're connected to the port, and that's just the name of the port, so we know. And then this is going to be, what we're going to do is import our router from routes right here. I don't have it imported because it'll break it. Well, I could have commented it out, but, and then we're just going to do app.use, and then this is the initial part of the endpoint API. So we don't have to type API in every one of our routes. And then just using the router again, which will import from routes. So that gets us basically set up with everything, this is basically all the stuff you need just to like start building. So let's go ahead now. Now it's time, before we get the database set up, I'd rather think through the models we're going to need basically for the, keep wanting to say dictionary, the objects we're going to store in MongoDB. I'll be honest, I think after, and it could just be because I'm way more used to using Python in my life, but some sort of relational database is probably, in fact, I know it's going to be better for something like this, but the fact is, I don't know, even if you did 1,000 trades, it's not going to, the app will still run plenty quickly with a non-relational database. And for me, it's good practice to use the MERN stack, which I'm not familiar with. Again, I've only been doing it for a couple of weeks, so I think this is a good place to start. So let's start with building some models out. And this is basically going to tell a Mongoose how we want to store each piece of information and what's required. And quite frankly, we're really only going to store one big object with multiple pieces. So we'll break down each input. So I'll show you, let me do this. Let me pull up. Yeah, this is a good example. Let's do this. So in models, create a new file. And again, you can do all this. Ooh, wait, what was that? New file. Oh. Okay. And we will call this, and it's good from the beginning to use words you don't maybe think you're going to use again. Because I found there's so many different files, and a lot of things get used across different files and not necessarily like in like a block scope instead of a function or something. So I think if I just do trade, I think we'll just call it trade.model.js. I think that'll work fine. So open this up, close some of this stuff. And then what we're going to do is we're going to import, and again, Mongoose makes this a lot easier. We'll do model. These are both going to come from Mongoose. Oops. From Mongoose. There we go. And now here's what we'll create our model, our schema. And we'll just call this trade schema. And I will say the one nice thing about this is you don't need some big, like MySQL workbench or whatever, which I can't upgrade my Macintosh to Sonoma because it doesn't work with it. Okay, and the new schema. Okay, and then we will build out our models here. So what we want to do is take a look at, actually, let me do this. Let me get, let me do this first. Because I had this issue before. I'm just trying to think. We'll just call it ticker. Ticker, and then I'm just going to make one of these, and we're going to look at the Figma to see what all the stuff we need to input. I mean, we can always come back and change it, but so the ticker is just going to be we're going to put the type in, which is going to be string. And then this will be, and then we can tell it if we want it to be required. So required is true. And then these will be the error message we can send through. So ticker, so ticker symbol is required. And then we will put one min length in here because we don't want it to be empty. I mean, I guess empty would be the same thing, but min length, we'll do 1. And I guess ticker symbol must be at least 1 character, comma. You know, and I'm thinking maybe we should put a max length. Well, see, here's where I'm not exactly sure how to validate. I think we'll have to do a validation, like an API call somehow within the model. And that's what I'm really not sure about yet, because we need to make sure, like, if someone types in a ticker that's not real. And I think the max length of a ticker is, I think there's 5 character tickers. I'll just put 5 for now and then see. Again, well, this is the one that's going to be the hardest to validate. So I'm sure I'm going to have to come back and change this, but for now, ticker symbol. Okay, so that should be good for ticker. And then let's take a look at, let's go back to the Figma. Let me save this. Oh, I closed Figma, didn't I? Give me 1 second. Get Figma open up again. Pull this over here. Okay, and then I've got to, so interesting. I thought you could move things into the window, but that doesn't seem to work. Oh, I see, entire screen. Oh, there we go. Okay. Learning on the fly. All right, great. Here we go. So Figma. So basically what I want to do is take a look at what's going on and what we're adding here, basically. So we need to know if it's buy, sell. Buy, sell, ticker. We're going to need a date, shares, price, and we're going to need to add these 2 into it. Okay. So let's go back to VS Code. And let's do, okay, let's do the date. So date, I'm going to have to look at the documentation in a second because I don't know if there's a type date. Let's see. Oh, it looks like there is. Maybe I should read this. Dates and times. Okay. I'll have to read the documentation. And we're going to use an enumerate. So I'm going to have to, we'll pull that up in 1 second. Yes, require. Say true for now. I don't know. I don't know that this needs anything else until I read the documentation. And then we're going to have, let's see, maybe we'll just call this buy sell. That's easy enough. Buy sell type. I could make this a Boolean. but it's going to be a dropdown, so that should. I'll do it. It'll be a dropdown, but we'll make sure that. Let's see, because I can use the enum require. Oh, I mean, I guess we can put an error here. And then true. And I think it's just, I thought it was just enum. No. All right, well, let's just pull up. I'll just pull up the, let's open another. What the heck? Oh, got caught. Let's see, Mongoose, MongoDB. Here's the documentation. We want the validation. Where is that? I saw it last night. Enum. Okay, so yeah, I don't know why it won't let me do that. Okay, so type string and then enum, and then I just want it to be buy or sell. Oops. Okay, so enum. Oh, I know why it's an error, because there's no comma. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, I think that's good. Let's see. Enum, two strings, buy, sell. Okay, now let's take a look at date, because I honestly have no idea how to use this one in here. Date. Okay. All right, let's see. So for example, we've defined a property title, which will be cast to the string schema, and property date, which will be cast to a date schema. Okay, date, type date, default date down. I see, I don't want that. Usually you can click on the date one. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Creates a validator that checks if the value is greater than the equal. I'm wondering. We'll just come back to dates, because that one I think is going to be. Yeah, well, let's just comment this real quick. Just say needs attention. Okay. All right, back here. Buy, sell, ticker, and then shares and price. Shares. So this will be a type, will be a number. Require. Oops. This will be true. This will be. Required, and then think on min length, oh, of course I closed the MongoDB thing. With numbers, just forget if it's the actual length or validation, numbers. Okay, so good. So number is actual min and max. I just want to make sure. Must be at least, okay, so it's not length. Oh, it's just min. It's not min. Got it. Not min length. That makes sense. Okay, so minimum. Okay. Must be at least one share. Max? Maybe we should do something just so it doesn't break, like a, let's see, if you have a $1 stock, maybe just 1 million? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I guess that works for now. Oh, why didn't max work? Oh, come on. Okay, shares, and then shares, oh, price. So price is going to be, oops, type will be a number, require true, and I don't really know how to know when the things were in chat, but I see Success Mind Mantra saying what's up. So what's up, dude? Good to see you here. If you're still here, sorry I missed that. Not used to doing the live stuff. But anyway, thanks for being here. And feel free to send any questions. And now that I know the chat's there, I'll make sure to take a look at it. Hopefully not get too thrown off with the coding. All right, so let's see, purchase. Well, I guess this doesn't have to be a purchase. So let's just say price required. And we're going to need, I guess we'll need a min again. So min. Well, I'm just going to say $1. Like, I feel like it should be at least $1. Actually, I guess you could set this however you want, because I don't really like buying anything below 15, really below 20. So maybe this would be like a good warning. I guess I might as well customize this while I'm building it. We'll put 1 for now, and then you can easily go back and change anything. And actually, what if I make the mistake and I buy a $19 stock? I still want to be able to put the trade in and know I did it. So yeah, must be at least a $1 stock. Cool. Max, I don't know what the max price ever on a stock is, but I don't know that anything's over, we'll just say 25,000. Say, is this stock really more than, because I think it's, I mean, people will be able to edit, but I think it's important for people to know, like if they made a mistake at the time, like maybe someone typed in, I mean, 25,000 shares would still be a lot of shares. So wouldn't a million. But, you know, and again, this can all be customizable. The nice thing about Mongoose is this makes this really easy to do. So am I forgetting? We'll save that. All right, so I've got, let's just take a look here. I got date and ticker, which we still need to figure out date. Buy and sell looks fine with the enum, which is great. we got ticker, we got shares, we got price. Oh, and then we'll add shaper and tactical, which we will add a maximum. We won't have it won't be required and won't have a minimum length, but it will have a maximum length just so it's not like crazy. And again, I'm thinking of making, I actually think this should be a drop down. But for now, we'll just make it a string with tag. I mean, it's going to be a string either way, but I'm just thinking in the form. So we'll call this shaper, and this will be type string require. So I'm guessing I just put this as false. I haven't done that before, so that looks fine. And then we'll just do a max length, which will be it's characters, including spaces. I mean, it really shouldn't be more than, I'm just trying to think, cup and handle, saucer, coil, double bottom, maybe the longest one, double bottom, head and shoulders, 4, 10, we'll just say 30. We'll say 50, I guess. Okay, we'll just copy this for the tactical because it's pretty much the same. Oops. Whoa, why that? Tactical. Okay. Cannot be longer than 50 characters. Okay, I think we have everything in here. I do not love how JavaScript I like how Python gives you problems right away. I mean, obviously there's syntactical, like it doesn't give you syntax problems, which I think is strange, but maybe that's just so you find it in the browser. I don't know. All right, I think we're good here. So I think our model is good. At least we have the baseline set up. Can always come back and like play with it. But I think, let me just check my, oh man, I hate when that happens. Let me just check my, I don't think I need that anymore. I'm just gonna check one of my old assignments. Am I missing anything here? Oh, yes, we should add the timestamps. That's important. Glad I looked at that. So timestamps here, you just set it to true. Easy enough. And then we are going to have to export this. Equals model. And then we just have it as, oh, see, that's the old assignment I was doing. This will be trade. Model is trade and trade schema. Yeah, and then export default, export default, trade. Oh, right, because this is trade schema. Right. Okay, yeah, we're setting, yeah, this object to the model. Man, Mongoose is great. Puts all this. Great, okay, awesome. All right, so I think we're done with models now. And I know this is like more of the boring stuff, but this is the life of building a full stack application. You have to build the backend. Although it's fun, I think the backend's a cool place where you can do on the front end too, but the backend's a cool place where like with some of these messages here, you can add some fun little quirky things if you want to for the user. Some Easter eggs, maybe, if you will. Okay, so model done. What else do we need to do here? So now we'll move to controllers. Okay. So model good to go for now. Of course, we won't really know if there's any errors until we get to, until we connect the database, but that's okay. All right, so here we will do trade.controller.js, 2 L's, that is correct. All right, so now we're going to import trade out. That should have pulled up automatically. And you have to add this. I don't know why it doesn't do this automatically. Whoops. Whoa. Why isn't that importing? What's the problem? Trade. It looks like maybe I have to use it and then it will. Let's see. Let's just see what happens here. It should work fine. So we'll create an async function. Create trade. Actually, I'm actually going to need to somehow store trying to think of the live or storing to build the equity curve. You need the realized is easy. That will just happen and get saved. But the unrealized, it's not just going to happen automatically because you'd have to have the application open to call the API. Because right now all we're doing is storing the trade model. I kind of also need it to store yeah, see, this is why I feel like a relational database would be a lot better. Because I need it to store I'm just trying. So the ledger will the ledger will basically be like a get all trades. So that's pretty simple. But in order to do that, I need to save whether, like when I said there was, where is this? Oh, I guess I have it on the old one. Let me see. Equity curve might be a little more than I was thinking it would be, but that's okay. We'll come back to that. But for now, I need to be able to at least create a ledger. I actually need to store. So we're storing date, buy, sell, ticker, name, but we're not storing yet. And we're storing all of this, but we're not storing this yet. And we're not storing this yet. So we will need to store those as well. That way we don't have to run the API every time the ledger is called. Like the ledger should just be historic information that's stored in the database. And we just do like a get all trades. So we need to add these. So let's do that let me type this out and just make sure this is actually working real quick. And then I will request response. And then, yeah, this is going to be, and here's where I think we can do, this should pull the const new trade. And then here's where we do the await. And now this stuff is built into Mongoose, which is pretty cool. Hopefully this works. Trade.create. Okay, there we go. That's why I wasn't filling up here. Create. Now this here, so this is cool because Mongoose takes care of all this stuff. I actually don't know if I need this piece here. I actually think this is not necessary, but we're just going to put it in here. Oops, shit. Await. Yeah, I don't think this is necessary, but I'm going to put it here for a second. Oh, there we go. No, yeah, it is. Okay. Yep, that is right. And then we get the response.json, and here's what we will use, of course. Make sure I got everything. Okay, now we're going to grab the error. I guess we put that on the same line. Let's console log this. That way I can see it easier. So this will be error, and then status. There we go. We'll do the 400, and then the .json for the error. Okay, so this is our create a trade function, and then let's just do, all I'm going to do is create trade and get all for now. I mean, edit's pretty easy. I guess I can throw an edit in here too. Well, and then we'll have to do delete and all that. I kind of want to just do enough backend where we can, well, I guess we should just do it all. I don't know why I'm trying to. Is this basically the same? I think, yeah, it's just async function. Just trying to think what I could copy, but let's see. Get all trades, request, try. Now for this one, it's just const all trades. And then we do, and then the mongoose for this is trade.find. Oh, right, with no parameters. So basically find all. And then response.json, all trades. Okay. Now the errors are going to be the same, so let's just grab that. And what do I do here? This is ending, this is ending. Oh. Okay. I don't think we'll have to do a find by ID, but you can do this. I'll just copy this over. I'm trying to think if I'd ever have to do like a find trade by ID. Because the ID is so unique that I don't know why I would ever need that. Oh, actually, yeah, because I guess if you click on it and you want to see the detail, I'm not doing like a details page of trades though, because it's all in the ledger. I guess I could. I guess it doesn't hurt to put it in here. It's just, this is basically the exact same thing. So I'm just going to copy this. Get one trade. Just call one trade. And then this becomes trade.find by ID. Oops, ID. And then we do have to put in the parameters, which is ID. But I'm missing something. What am I? Oh, here we go. One trade. Whoops. One trade. Missing anything else? Okay, cool. Get one trade. And then what I'm going to do is create a object, not a dictionary, of each one of these. And then that way you can just call, well, I'll export the whole object. That way you can just do like the object dot get one trade. Actually, don't like that. We're going to do that. Get one trade, one trade, one trade. That's fine. Okay. Now we'll do the update function, which is, I'll just call it update trade. This will require, this will have, yeah, request response, obviously. And we're going to try. Okay, this one's a little strange. Oh yeah, because we have, okay, so this is actually going to be a little different. So const trade. All right, here's what we're going to do. This one is called find. Oh, here we go. Nice. And this one has multiple. We're going to have to do something real quick that I forgot to do. ID and then require dot body and then the options. And then yeah, the res. Get the results. Update trade. Wait, no. Let's do edit trade. I feel this is where the words get confusing. Okay. Update trade. But we're missing up here, we need to create the options to pass through to here, which is just an object with a couple key values, which is this, and the run validators. True. Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, it just wants the catch. And the catch should be the same as always. We'll just copy this. That's kind of cool. It errors you if you don't have a catch, which is your error. So that's good. And then we just have the delete one book. So async function or delete one trade. 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 And this one is find by ID and delete. Mongoose is great. And then this one just needs the request parameters. Params dot ID. And yeah, then the results.json. Delete trade. And we will pass the catch in again, which is the same. All right, so then down here, I'm trying to think, I don't think I'll need anything else. Let's see, we'll update a trade. We will need the find by ID for other reasons, but delete, create, get all. And because this will be a single user application, we're not building any kind of login. I'm not going to host this on like a, hopefully you can just clone this and then use it right from your desktop would be pretty cool. But it's kind of a pain to have a public database that all sorts of users can use, and it would just be easier just to clone it and use it this way. So, all right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to create an object, which is going to be called const trade controller. And then we are going to do a dictionary for each one. So just like this. Whoop. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. This takes a second, but I think it makes using these later much simpler. Okay, that was get one trade. Wait, we did create trade, get all trades, get one trade, edit trade, and then delete one trade. Okay, then we just have to export it. Export default trade controller. Excellent. Okay. Imported trade. So basically you're going to go from, well, your config kind of, and then to model basically is where you kind of kick off, and then into the controller. which is doing all our fun work. And then kind of all like the logic stuff. And then we're going to go into routes. All right, going to sit because my back hurts. All right. All right, let's take a look here. All right, routes. Don't need that. What just happened? All right, so let's go into our routes. So here we are just going to have my goal, let's see, it's 10. So you have 45 minutes. If we do the routes, hopefully we can get set up to Mongo. And maybe try and pull some on the front end. We'll see. Well, 45 minutes, I'm not sure, but if we can get all this backend stuff set up, the server and everything, then all we'll have to do is make like minor edits, and we can just work on the front end stuff next weekend. So routes.js. Oh, whoa. All right. Let me take a look here. Make sure this is all good. Nope. Why does that keep happening? Okay. All right. So here's where we want to. Now we're going to start using Express. So we're going to import. What's this one called? Router from Express. Of course, it doesn't want to do that. Why would it? Express. There we go. And then we're going to import our trade. Oh, look, this one wants to work. And again, you will have to, if you do it that way, you got to do .js. I've had many problems with that. And it'll give you the little error. That's just because we're not using it yet. So that's fine. And then we're going to create the router, an instance of the router. I think that's what they call it in JavaScript. That's what they call it in Python. Okay, import's done. Now, router.route. Now so they have it on this one. The API thing, I forget now. Oh, yes. So on well, let me type this in real quick and then you'll see. So let's just do, I want to set this up so it's clean because I've done this before where the routes start to get all weird. I think we'll just call it trades. I'm trying to think. I guess it can just be under trades as a post route. I don't know. I kind of prefer doing this though. So let's just say this is obvious. Create new trade. And then what you do here is then the actual route. So this will be a .post route. And here's where we'll use the trade controller. And now you can do the create trade. So that's why I kind of like doing the actually, I wonder if would it just grab it anyway? No, see, if you did it the other way, you'd have to export these all one at a time. Yeah, I don't know. This just seems to be easy. So this is going to be a post route that's going to use this logic. So for create trade, for instance, and again, it's going to use Mongoose here, which is great. So Mongoose does all the stuff you need to do, but it's going to do it based off and see how it adds the created at and everything, does all your promises. But it also then just takes in all of our, see, we have, it has to be by cell, and all the different schema we built in the model. So it all just kind of like flows really nicely through all this. And we'll do it one more time at the end to just walk through how this all like routes through, and then the front end just has to go out and grab it, which is really nice. And of course, like Express and Mongoose make this all easy. God bless the people that used to do all this stuff without libraries. Okay, so we got this, and then let's do, and now we're going to do, I'll just do /trades will be all of our trades. Yeah, so this will just be a GET request. And we'll do the trade controller. We'll do dot get all trades. Very simple. Oops. Okay, and then we will do, well, actually this one, this we're going to use ID. See, this is why we needed ID for the delete and everything. And so Mongoose, I think, yeah, Mongoose creates the unique ID and then stores it in MongoDB. I don't think MongoDB actually makes, maybe it's MongoDB that makes the unique ID, but either way, it will create a very unique number for you. So this one will be router.route. And here's where we'll use params. And that's why we pass params into some of the, now I'm getting confused. Yeah, so find by ID, and we have the parameter. Ooh, actually, I think this should be, I think this needs to be params. Check my, yes. That would have caused an issue. But here's where we use params. So we just type in the :ID, and then it will take care of, then it passes that param into find by ID, and it's going to be this number, which is the unique ID that's created for it. So we can do a couple things here. So we can do the .get trade controller, get one trade. There we can do, because these are going to use the same route because they're using the same parameter, but because they're going to be a different property here, right? Get, put, if you were using post, which we're not, but then they can be the same route up here. What am I doing? Get or edit trade. Dot delete trade controller. Dot delete one trade. Don't think. And we just need to export the router. Yep, because we've set all these. The weird thing about this one is how you don't have like an equal sign or a bracket or anything, which is, I guess, just how the router object or class or whatever works from Express, because basically what you're doing now is you're saying this route now has this attached to it if you do a .get. This route has this attached, and then you're exporting the entire router, which we will use in Server.js. And one thing I wanted to mention here, I don't think we need this anymore. This over here. This API thing, that's, so everything's going to be /API and then /the route. So that's why we're doing app.use and then the /API and then that router we're going to import in. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, and then I'm just going to uncomment this. So this should be fine. I think we're done here except for the .env. So .env, one thing we can add here is port. Whoops, port equals, I'm just going to do 8,000. And then you're going to do what is it called? Let me pull it up on an old, what's this thing called? Oh yeah, the MongoDB URI. So MongoDB URI equals, and then we're going to copy and paste from Atlas. So let's try to think best way to do this. Well, I don't think we need this anymore. I just don't want to have too many windows open. Let me go to Atlas real quick. Yeah, so if you go to just mongodb.com and you can log in with Google, I forget what like information it shows. So I'm just going to do it on this other screen here for a second. And then I'll pull it back over to show you what you need to copy. All right, that one's free. Okay, so you can go to, at the top left there was like a add new project. So you can just do that. And then you see your project. So project name, we'll just call this Smart Trader. Not going to invite anybody. I am the project owner. So you can like work with teams with this. This does make it really, Atlas as part of MongoDB makes this really simple. Create project. And we're going to create a deployment. We're going to do the free option. I'm going to use AWS. You can use Lambda. Is this Lambda? I think that's Lambda. Or Google Cloud. I'm going to use the low carbon emission option. I don't know how they fit. Whoops. I don't want to read about that. You cannot change the name of once the cluster is created. Okay, so the cluster. Oh boy. I think let's just call it trades. That's kind of nice. Your M0 cluster is ideal for experimenting and is unlimited. Neat. Another reason why, like to deploy this for multiple users, you'd have to upgrade, and I have no idea how. 8 cents an hour, but I guess it depends on how many hours. I don't know. All right, we don't need a key value. We don't need any dictionary. So I'm just going to call it trades. Create. Okay, well, I'll just show you because it's going to give you a username and password. I'm going to auto generate a new one and then create the user. So just do that. And then the rest is pretty straightforward, but create a new password, create user. Okay, and then on the next page, and then if you scroll down, and unfortunately I just can't really show this because it's all my stuff. It's going to ask you what IP addresses you want to connect to. You can just hit finish and close. As long as your IP address is on there, it should say IP access list with your IP address and then description my IP address. If it's not there, you can click add my IP address, or you can add other IP addresses for other people that you want to access this. But for now, and then you can just hit finish and close on the bottom right. Go to overview. And then okay, and then sorry, I just don't know what's on here. That's like, yeah, nothing here. So then you're going to click connect right here. So the overview should pop up, and then you click connect. Then from connect, you're going to click drivers. It says connect to your application, drivers. And then if you scroll down, at the bottom, number 3, add your connection string to your application code. Oh shoot, I might have put the wrong. And so basically you're just going to copy and paste that into right here, and then it's going to say password, and you need to switch that to your password. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to unshare for a second and do this real quick. Oh, these built-in M2 cameras are great. I don't even know where my thing went. Of course, now I forget my password because I auto-created it. I don't remember what it was. Oh boy. Okay, so I'm gonna copy that. I'm gonna put it in the VS Code. And I literally have no idea what that password was. I might have to. Oh boy. I might have to close this deployment and make a new one. Gosh darn it. I have no idea what that password is now. Well, I'm just gonna have to do a new one. So if you auto-generate the password, don't forget it. That is important. Okay. Okay, free AWS. Gonna have to write this down. All right. Okay, IP address, blah, 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 blah. Finish and close. Go to overview. Connect. Drivers. Okay, so once that's all saved, hopefully this should work. Let's see. Let me close all this stuff out. Shouldn't need Mongo anymore, so I'm just going to close it. All right, I've got .env away. I'm just going to make sure this is all set up right. Port 8000. I'm going to be URI. Okay. All right, now we can test. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, now we should be able to test here if our backend is working with Mongo. So, moment of truth. Let's see what happens. So make sure we're in the server, which we are. And then we are just going to be doing npm run dev. And we crashed. Love that. Oh, I know what the problem is. The problem is in the config file. Sorry, let me just make sure. I don't think there's anything. Yeah, okay. in the config file, it's this. And now I'm trying to think. I think it's. Yeah, it's because this is wrong. Maybe it's just trades. Oh, what's happening? I'm sure it's something wrong with this. All right, give me 1 second. Pull up MongoDB again here. Bum, bum, bum. Whoa. Let me see if it's in. Might be. Do we have? Got DB connect. It looks like everything's connecting. It's just not. Mongo.db. I've got that. Let's do this real quick. Something's just not imported, and I'm not sure. Module resolve. Okay, cannot find module. Smart React server config mongoose.config. Probably spelled something wrong. MongoDB Connect. Let's see, config Mongoose. Oh, spelled the file wrong. Of course. All right. All right, yeah, that's what happened. Okay, let me share this again. Let me make sure I have all this stuff closed off. Silly, silly, silly. Okay, let me share this. Okay, so I was missing the N I had Mongoose.config. But that's good. I needed to get the new password anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, anyway, so let me kill this and just show you what it says if it works. So npm run dev. Okay, and then you get the messages. We're connected to the port 8000, connected to MongoDB. So we got 20 minutes left. Let's make sure our front end works. So I think here's a good time to, let me do this. Let me cd out of here. I'm going to split the terminal, and I'm just going to do this. I'll just show it. You won't be able to see my code on both sides because of the video, but on the left side, I thought this was kind of cool. They kind of showed us this in the boot camp I'm in, where you just cd into client on the left side. So now in the client folder on your left, on the front end, and on this side, you are on the server side. So just cd into server. Great. So now you got both. Now you can run both. They both run the same way with the way we set up the JSON package, how we added the dev. You can just do npm run dev on both, and it will run the front end and the back end. So let's just do that to get them set up. We haven't even checked the front end. Hopefully it works. I'm guessing it does. Yeah, so we got that working, and then we'll run the back end. And yeah, okay, you can see that there. Cool. All right, and then we can just do command, click here. Now we have nothing here, obviously. Let's just add a little bit of front end. All right, so let's close down the server for now. We won't need that. It gets a little confusing because there's a lot. I find this to be way more confusing than like Flask or Django for Python, but it's not so much confusing, just a lot to look at. And a lot of places that are the same thing, like package.json and things of that nature. But let's go into source and go into app.jsx. We can just do something like h1 smart. Oh, we could just do like that, maybe. I'm so bad with all these kinds of things. Okay, so front end works. And then I think what we'll do, which is 15 minutes, just so we can see if we can get the front end. This won't be like what it actually looks like, but let's just, I'm going to close these down at the moment. And then let's just do a quick, just see here. What do I have here that I can use real quick? Oh yeah, we got to do an Axios. All right, well, let's just do it. Whatever. We'll create. This will probably change, but let's just for now, we'll just call it. We can copy this code over to another file, but we'll just call this like show all. Oops, show all trades.jsx. Great, we have this. Oh God, I always forget the boilerplate. But we're gonna need import. So we'll import use state. Again, we're just gonna do a simple, just to make sure. Actually, we don't have any trades to import, so we're gonna have to do. Well, I can do this pretty quick, I think. We'll see. Import Axios from Axios const. And we're just going to set up I don't even know that we'll need prop. We won't need props, but whatever, it's there. Whoops. We're gonna need we're gonna set up use state. So trades. This will be our getter and setter functions. Let's call this trades. Yeah, set trades. That looks like that'll be confusing, but use state. We'll just set this to an empty list because this will get back all of the trades. We need use effect from, what is that from? Oh, that's from React, isn't it? Okay, yeah, cool. We're going to use this to get the Axios stuff. So we will do, let me think real quick. Use effect with a, just an anonymous function, right? I don't think we need. And then we can just do axios.get. And then from here, we're going to do the endpoint, which will be, let me copy this one over. This will be helpful, actually. And this will be /trades. Okay. Dot then, and then we have to pass response. And we're going to set trades to response.data. Is that right? Yeah, response.data. I guess we'll console log this too, just in case we end up with an error. Data. Okay, and then I need to do a oh my goodness. Oh yeah, we need the dependencies is just empty for right now. We need the return. Div. Need a map. Trade. Oh God, of course. Why would this be? Just do p tag. Trade.ticker. Whoa. Oh, I didn't know trade was an element. Oh, because we need curly brackets. Trade.ticker. Okay. I'm going to need to import. Oh my goodness, going to need a whole form too. All right, maybe we won't do that right now because I don't know if I have time to. Well, we could, I guess. Okay. Well, let me walk through this because I kind of did that kind of quickly. So just assuming like everyone has React knowledge. Okay, so app.jsx. So all we did was type smart trader here and then H1. And so everything's going to flow through the app.jsx for the single page application. Probably won't use this. This would be if we were using lifted state, but I'm just leaving it there for now. So really not much happens here. This is where all our routes are going to go for our views, but don't think we'll have time to go through all of that. So for right now, rather than using browser router and all that stuff with the React router DOM, I'm just going to go ahead and import show all trades to the app.jsx. So this component into that component. So we can import. Oh, I didn't export. Hold on. Actually, let me go through here first. So we're importing use state and use effect from React and then Axios from Axios. So Axios is how we're going to do our API stuff from the front end. And kind of like we're using Mongoose to connect the server to MongoDB, right? That way, we're going to use Axios for the front end API to connect. So, and basically these are the endpoints we set up in Okay, so let's do this. So use state, we're going to have all the trades, and this is our getter function and our setter function. And we're going to set the initial state to nothing, because basically what we're going to do is we're going to call the database, our MongoDB database, and it's going to bring back all of the trades, and we will set the trades to that data, to that response.data is the JSON we're getting back. Then we can access that data using the trades variable, because we've set it to trade. We've set trades to that data, and then we access it using the getter function, the getter, which is trades. Axios makes this pretty simple. This is where you can do your .get, .put, .delete, .push, what else? Post, I guess, if you're doing like login or something like that. And then you just put your endpoint here, and I'll just go over here. And you can see in our, well, let's go here. Actually, this is a good idea. I'll work all the way backwards for the last 10 minutes just to see where all this stuff comes from. So this is all our import stuff, but let's focus on router, because this is where our routes are coming from. Okay. And we did this app.use API and then that router. So here we're getting our local host, which remember we set the port up for here. Okay. And we're listening for that port, and that port is being imported from the .env, which we're not going to because it has our hidden link. But whatever you set port to, it could be whatever localhost. 8000 is just a common one, or 99999 or 9999. And that's what it's listening for. Okay, so that's where the /API comes from. All right. So now let's follow back. Let's follow the router. So we imported router from our trades routes. So we'll go into routes, trade routes, and we're doing the get function. Now this isn't going to work because there's nothing in the database, and then you can see, so we imported this file, which had a router.route of /trades. So we got the API from the, from the server.js, and then the trades route from our trade.routes.js. And for the get all, we don't need anything else. So if we were doing the post here and we were adding a trade, it would be the /add. Now we could technically do a /trades and put it within this one, because this is a post and this is a get, kind of like we have here. This can have the same route as long as these types are different. But just trying to keep this like simple to look at. We could condense them at the end if we want to. Okay, so now when we do the axios.get and it hits this endpoint, now it needs to do something. Okay, so now it reaches that endpoint. Now what? And remember, if this was a website instead of localhost, this would just be your website, AWS or whatever you'd have. All right, great. So now we're going to go into the trade controller, which we built and we imported here. So trade controller is here. And we are doing a get all trade, right? And remember, this stuff is built in to Mongoose right here, which is great. It makes it really easy. So this is the function we're calling. So our API hits so we hit the endpoint, right, with our front end, and we're going to hit here, and now it's going to do something for us. And so all it's doing is it's going to do all trades, and it's going to go out and do trade.find, and this is what's connecting to MongoDB. And you can see here, and all this stuff is all a point, like you can see that. But all this stuff in the box there is all the stuff we set in the model, which is the last piece we'll look at. So it's going to go through the model and validate, and then use this .find, right, which is this built-in function for Mongoose. And it's going to go to the database, and it's going to get all. And then it's going to put that in a response.j. It's going to put it in the JSON format, and it's going to return, that's all trades, and it's going to return that to us. If not, we're going to get an error from the API, which there's nothing in it, so it shouldn't matter. And then the models, really all the model is doing is create the schema for the type of object, right, in the curly brackets, or dictionary you'd call in Python, that you want, what you want this to look like in your MongoDB database or Mongo database. And that's where we set all the validations. So like, is it a string? Is it a date? Although we don't know if the date one works the way we want it to, but we'll have to come back to that. Is it required? Yes. Whereas some of these are not required. And then we can set that's the first validation. And then we can set the other ones. Like for strings, we can have minimum length. So how many characters? So at least one character, not more than 5. On numbers, we can do the minimum number size and the maximum. So we said it has to be at least $1 and it can't be, or at least 1 share and can't be more than 1 million shares. And for the price, we said it has to be at least $1, can't be more than $25,000. So all that can be edited and probably will. And I actually think we're going to need to add some other stuff. But we'll have a delete function. So if we put something in the database that's not structured the way we want it, we can delete them. We'll only do a couple. We can delete them, clean out the database, and then rebuild the model. Not rebuild it, just add or delete a few things here and there. So that's how that all works. Because it's already 11:24. Been doing this for 2 hours. Come back next weekend. So we'll do 9:30 to 11:30 Utah time, Mountain Standard. It's finally sunny out, so I should probably get outside. And what we'll do then is we're going to add a bunch of trades to our database, and then we're going to pull that stuff. And then we're going to figure out the logic we need to, and so what we'll do rather than do, because I have a feeling the live portfolio and the unrealized gain loss, which is the open trades gain loss, is going to be a little tricky. So rather than get hung up on that next week, we'll play around with the math and the logic of how we're going to calculate the 20-day moving average, the 50-day, the 200. I've done something similar in Python, but it would be nice to have it using JavaScript. So it should be pretty similar, just like a different syntax, but same type of logic. I'll have to look for some type of math library that can do it. We'll do that, and then we'll show how the trading statistics. So we'll just do a bunch of, we'll do 10 or 15 random trades, close some trades out, and see what, and then build out how the trading statistics, like what's our batting average, average percent win, loss, portfolio impact, and those types of things. So if we can get all of that done, and we can get all the logic and at least some of the front end, like the color scheme and all that I showed you with the different blues, if we can get all that, I think we can do that. I think it takes us about an hour to do the logic stuff, and then maybe an hour on the front end, and I'll go through how we do the views, the components. On the front end here, we're going to use the React router DOM or React DOM router, whatever one, and we're going to do that, and we're going to have links, and we'll get the delete and all that. It's pretty simple stuff. It's the logic stuff is where it's going to get a little tricky, and then having that display properly in the right format, especially with the numbers and the percent signs and all that, having that display correctly on the front end might be a little strange. And then also, again, we have to come back and figure out this date thing here, because all I really want is like a 1/22/24 is all that we'll need for the date. And we could add too, average hold time of a win, average hold time of a loss. And so that's why, like, once we have all the data we need for each trade, from there we can really play and add any type of functionality we want. So I think that'll be really fun. And then hopefully in 2 weeks, we'll kind of bring it all together. So basically you're looking 5-6 hours. Maybe we'll have to do one more weekend. I don't know. I have exams in a couple weeks for my bootcamp for JavaScript. So this is a good way for me to practice too. And if there's any questions, I guess leave a comment, or I think my LinkedIn is attached somewhere. You can always connect with me there and send me a DM. But that's going to be it for today. So appreciate whoever watching and whoever watches after. That's awesome. And we'll see you next weekend, Saturday, 9:30 Mountain Standard Time. Have an awesome day.